welcome back to another episode of Behind the Business. Today, we're going to be doing things just a little bit different, okay? Get into the set. Soak it all up, okay? Because guess what we giving? The Odyssey. Yes, I love the Odyssey. I recently went to go see the movie, and I fell in complete love with it. So in the movie, I took out my phone and took some notes and did. So I'm like, I need to let the girlies and the guys know what's happening in the Odyssey. Today, we're getting into the plot of the Odyssey, but not only that, we're getting into how to extrapolate information that was brought to us in the Odyssey and how to apply it to our everyday businesses. Let's get into it. Let's get it. Welcome back. Yo, we about to change the theme music up in here, okay? Listen. I know y'all ready to hear about J. Cole. I know, right? I know y'all ready to hear about it. We just gonna pause on Jay for a little bit, and we gonna get into the Odyssey today because this is behind the business, and this is our priority, right? Throwing a bra on stage, that's not necessarily the priority, but that did happen. So make sure you follow us on Instagram because we got into it. I will let y'all know the story time about J. Cole on the episode after this one, but for today, we are getting into the Odyssey. Like I said before, went and saw the Odyssey, and not only did I see the Odyssey, girl, the Odyssey saw me. Number one, 3 hours locked in. Let's start there. 3 hours. So you got to prepare mentally going in there. Not only do I love the Odyssey that Christopher Nolan put together because he works with some of the most amazing actors and actresses, but girl, I read the books. What are we talking about? I read these books in high school, and it planted a seed, and I fell in love with Greek mythology. I fell in love with everything about it, how it was detailed and all. And then fast forward, I'm now learning about my business through the Odyssey. So the Iliad and the Odyssey come in one book, and then the Odyssey also comes in its own book. The Iliad is really about winning the Trojan War, and then the Odyssey is about the journey home. Hence the movie, The Odyssey, is about Odysseus's journey home after he helped win the Trojan War. Boom. Get y'all the books because the books got a little extra tea in there. I ain't gonna hold you. Got a little something. Let's get into it. Okay. Firstly, the set is all inspired by Athena. Zendaya plays Athena in the movie, and most of her character is a little bit of a ghost. So you know how usually on the podcast we do like the first segment and then story time. Today we putting it all together. We putting it all together today so that we could just run through the movie and I can just drop a couple gems in between. So let's get into Zendaya. My girl been on red carpets, and she was a goddess in the movie the entire time. She was appearing, disappearing, reappearing. So don't go into it expecting that she's about to be all up and through because she's not. Nonetheless, we're going to get into the lessons. Okay, so the story of the Odyssey follows Odysseus, hence the name the Odyssey, who goes to fight in the Trojan War, and he leaves behind his wife and son, played by Anne Hathaway and Timothée Chalamet. So the wife's name is Penelope, the son's name is Telemachus, and they are living in Ithaca. They watch their dad and husband go off. So Odysseus goes off. He does his thing. Boom. Wins the Trojan War. But it's back in the day, girl. They don't have no FaceTime. They don't have none of that. So they don't know whether this man is dead or alive. They don't know what's going on with him. And naturally, they're trying to force the son to take over the throne. But there's so many suitors who are trying to get to the mom and say, I'm going to be the one to take over this throne. So let's get into the tea. So while Odysseus over here fighting for his life child, Penelope, she refused to take another man. She refusing, girl. She don't want to do it. She has this garment, and she says, oh, once I'm done this garment, I'll take a new lover. Girl, every night she undo the garment so that she can never take a new lover. She's like, I'm really not fooling with y'all like that. The suitors all up in her crib. They having parties. They doing anything. That was the first part. I was like, girl, you need to tell your son to stand up, okay? Because having the men up in the crib is crazy. Anyway, they told her, once you're done with this garment, then you will take a new lover. And she was like, I'm going to undo this garment every night, which she did. Then she has a very important quote that I wrote down from the movie, which I really, really loved. It was really pivotal for me. The structure is nothing without people's respect for its meaning. The structure is nothing without people's respect for its meaning. what she was saying is that the structure of Ithaca and of the castle and all these things, it means nothing without it being given meaning by the people who dwell there. Same thing with a business. I could say I have a business, but what does that really mean if I don't have people who add value to what my business is and add value to what I'm building and consistently putting together each day? It's the people around you who add value to what you're building, and that really is what becomes important. That was the first lesson that I learned. I said, "Oh, girl, Anne Hathaway giving tea, okay?" So after she untied the garment every night, the men are showing up and like, "Queen, please be my woman." And she's like, okay, because she's waiting for her man Odysseus. She ain't playing. Odysseus, meanwhile, child, let's get into Odysseus. He had a lot going on. Odysseus had a lot going on. I said, I don't know if the tenacity to get back home to his love was so strong, or if he was like, I'm about to accomplish this goal. Either way, when we're running a business, we have a goal. So think of our goal as Ithaca. Think of our goal as we're trying to get back to the wife and the son. And we had to go away sometimes, like how you have to do in business, build it, and then come back, right? Think about it that way. So Odysseus is over here. He helps win the Trojan War with the Greeks. So he's like, all right, let me get up on my boat. Let me get out of here for real, right? Boom. The first major thing he hears is a Cyclops. Girl, the Cyclops, I'm not going to hold you. The Cyclops, he looked like he might have been a nice man in the previous lake, but somebody done pissed him off. So Odysseus get his homies, and they like, all right, bet, we got to go in here. We need some food. We need everything. We need water. We need shelter. We need all that. They get up in the cave. Boom. Get to hiding in the back. They see a sheep, and they like, oh, sheep running flocks. So we just going to wait till the owner get home, and we going to chill. Girl, that owner was the Cyclops. Cyclops came smooth in there and was like, I know y'all not in my crib. I know that's not what I'm seeing. Smooth came in there and started eating them up. Physically eating them up. Started eating the soldiers that were with Odysseus. Odysseus watching his homies get snatched up in the sky. So he's like, oh my gosh, can't believe this happening. First of all, Odysseus, don't piss me off. Cause you did what you did and you let them in there. But okay, cool. All right. So they're like, all right, we got to get this Cyclops up out of here. The Cyclops gets very tired very easily. So he sit down and take a nap, much like myself, okay? Worn out. He get to laying down. He only got one eye, girl, the eye on the side like this. So he closed that eye. Bro, why did they take a pitchfork and stab him in the eye? My man got up and was screaming, oh my gosh, I can't believe it. And they were like, oh, he can talk. Should we try to reason with him? It's too late. It's too late. Y'all should have did y'all research before y'all walked up in somebody's crib like this. Because y'all maybe would have been able to reason with him at the beginning. But once you put a pitchfork in my eye, it's on sight. And that's what happened. So he started calling out to his dad, Poseidon. They didn't even know his dad's name was Poseidon. They was like, bro, we done pissed off the god of the sea. The transportation back then was the sea. They ain't had no whips, okay? They had to get on the sea. So they're like, damn, I ain't even know. I done pissed the dad off. So the Cyclops get up. He get to running after him. They get down to the boat. When they get to the boat, I kept thinking to myself, how do they keep escaping on this boat? This is not a car you just start up and you boom 200 miles an hour. This joint takes some time to get out, okay? Either way, they got out of there. Cyclops is like, all right, I'm going to let y'all have it. I'm going to pay it. Cyclops is like, all right, cool. Then they were like, yo, his daddy is Poseidon. And we on Poseidon's ocean right now. His daddy about to tear us up out here. And they got tore up. I said, yeah, because you shouldn't have pissed his daddy off. So now I realize in business, you got to watch where you cross. Because them same people be the ocean. Them same people be the ones you need to get to the next part. And y'all out here running around wrecking. I'm like, Odysseus, what's up? I mean, I know you a leader, do your thing, but probably could have thought about that, okay? So they finally get away from the Cyclops. Boom. They get out to the sea. And now they're like, we need to find land because we need water, we need food. Naturally, they've been out for a while, fighting and doing everything. They already won the war. So they're like, okay, let's find some land. So Odysseus, he see a little land in the background. He like, bet, that's where we about to go. The whole crew with it, right? He the boss. The whole crew's like, all right, we gonna go. Pull up to the land on a boat, and they see a house on the top of a hill. Naturally, since they just merely escaped the Cyclops, his homies is like, nah, you stay at the boat. We gonna go up there and check it out, right? We don't even want you going up there no more because that last time was a close call. You stay down here. Odysseus, being a natural leader, said, all right, bet. Y'all go to the top. Either way, I'm down here hunting. I'm getting after the gazelles. I'm getting after everybody down here. My boy straight got the bow, started getting to it, made sure dinner was on the table for the team. The team starts going up the mountain, and they see a lion and a tiger. And these animals are just looking. When the last time you seen a tiger just look at you walk by, right? Next lesson in business. Things may appear, people may appear to be something that they are not. You have to be very careful. In business, when you're developing these relationships, somebody might look like, oh, this is a strong beast of a person and all this extra. You peel back them layers and you find out what really happens. That's exactly what happened in the movie. The soldiers, they get up to the house, and the woman's name is Cersei. She owns this house. She has all these animals. And so the men are like, Cersei, girl, we hungry. We starving like Marvin. Like, let us in here. Whip me up a little something. Cersei says, okay, you all can come in and I will make you all some stew, but you got to leave your armor outside. Who leaving their armor outside? I said, I be damned. This is how you know. Sometimes you can't even delegate and trust your team to do something without you, because I promise you, if Odysseus was there, Odysseus would have never been like, yes, great idea. Let's leave the armor outside, bro, and come into this woman's house unarmed. He would have never let them do that. But he's down at the boats, so they were like, okay, great, because we're so hungry. We're just going to come in here and leave us outside. Man, they get to eating. Didn't even pray before they ate. Start smashing. They don't even care. Eating it up. All of a sudden, their faces start morphing into pigs, bro. Cersei turned them into pigs. Now y'all look real crazy because y'all came in here. Y'all was so hungry. Again, another lesson in business. Y'all so hungry. Y'all so pressed. And now look at you. They're turned into something you don't even recognize. You an animal now because you so pressed. So she chilling. Cersei acting. One thing about somebody, they gonna use you and go on about their day. Okay? Cersei went outside, just feeding her little cattle, girl. She was chilling, bopping. So then Odysseus, he's like, I'm out here no matter what. I gotta feed my men. He takes a bow and shoots a gazelle, like the animal. Gazelle falls down. He gets up on it and realizes, oh, that's a human being. So then it dawned on him, oh, all these animals, all these cheetahs, all these lions, all these animals out here are really human beings that have been turned into these animals. Boom. My men, they probably in danger. He get the trotting up. He go up to the top of the hill. He like, hey, yo, I don't know who you are, but my men said they came past here. Seriously, like, I don't even know what you're talking about. I don't know what you're talking about, but you can have some stew. I can make you some food. First of all, Cersei, she tried to use the same play again and again and again. If I knew her, I would be like, yo, switch up the play. Because what? He know his men came up here and you try to act like they didn't. Okay. So he's like, okay, you could feed me some soup. He gets it close to his mouth. Stop and notice one of the rings of the homies sitting on the table and was like, huh, you said you ain't seen my men? Cersei said, I ain't seen no men. I don't know what you're talking about. Said, oh yeah? So whose ring is that? Whole time Cersei been living her whole life turning her family members and everybody into animals. She don't fool with nobody. You cross her one time, you an animal. She had this cage sitting next to it, turned her sister into a crow. Let me tell you, Odysseus was hip. He peeped it, snatched that crow by the throat, and was like, yo, where's my men, or I'm not letting this crow go, and I know this ain't no real crow. I know this somebody in your family. I know this either your mom or your sister. See if she get to crying. Now she won't cry. Oh my goodness, I had to turn my sister into a crow because that's the only way we get along. He still got the crow by the neck. Listen, where the homies at? So she's like, do you understand that I didn't choose for these men to be pigs? I don't choose for anybody to become any specific animal. It has to be something that's already in them. These men are dirty. They're barbaric. They don't care about anything, just like a pig would. That's how they turn into pigs. So all those cheetahs and lions that you saw come up here, those were merely men. They were strong. They were witty. And so that's the animal that manifested. My sister was annoying. That's why she turned into a crow, right? So that's she running it down. He's like, bet. I understand you've been through a lot up here, right? Let my men go, and I'm going to let your sister have her life. I ain't going to kill your crow. So he still got the crow by the neck. But if I was that crow, I would have been like, you need to go ahead and do something. Make it shake. Because I ain't got nothing to do with this. Like, I'm just a crow chilling in the cage. So she's like, all right, bet. She turns the men back into men. And, she turns the men back into men from the pigs. And the scene was no CGI. It was a real woman, and they had to have animated props for her to sculpt from the people that were sitting at the table into the pigs. Shout out to Christopher Nolan for not using CGI. In the world of AI, listen, he got the budget. He did what he needed to do. So she turned all the soldiers back into men. They pissed. They pissed, okay? They come out and they like, we not about to let her live? Are you dumb? I'm never about to let Shorty live after she turned us into some pigs. So then, naturally, Odysseus is like, hey, let's show her some grace. She's been through a lot. And that taught me something else. Sometimes the people that we meet, in the stage that we meet them in, is so afraid, and they've been through so much, all they know is trauma. All they know is how to recreate trauma. All they know is how to recreate chaos. But sometimes it takes a gentle person to step in and say, I know this is the way that things have been, but this is not the way that things always need to be. So they left her. They told her, hey, we about to hit the sea again. We about to get out there fooling with Poseidon. So I'm going to need you to tell us, like, where to go. She's like, all right, I could tell y'all where to go, but, you know, it's some sirens out there. Sirens are mermaid-esque women who call out to individual people. A siren would sing a song and it would lure people, even though it's the same song, each person hears it differently. And so the Cersei was telling Odysseus, hey, you know, you could try to do this, but them sirens, they gonna call you, right? And call you so much so deep into the temptation that you would risk your life, jump into the ocean, and swim over there to these women. Whole time it's a death trap. So as a boss, Odysseus like, nah, I ain't tripping. I'm about to pivot. I'm going to stuff the ears of my men with wax. They never going to be able to hear it. We going to get through. Boom. Get to the sirens. So he's like, all right, tie me to this pole because I want to hear what the sirens talking about. Like, I know y'all about to get wax in y'all ears, but I, as the leader, I want to hear it. Yep. And sometimes as a leader, we take on things that nobody else can do, just so we can come to the other side and be able to tell the story of how it happened. That's what he did. The guys tied him up to the boat. He's like, all right, bet, start sailing. They get to sailing. As soon as they pass the sirens start singing. And all they can do is see Odysseus. They can't hear because everybody's ears are filled with wax. They see him struggling, crying, yelling, please let me go. Please let me go. And they just go ahead rowing and rowing and rowing. Girl, why one of the guys, it's always one. Like, it's always one. He decided, whatever you over there tweaking out about, I want some of that. Straight took the wax out his ears, jumped off the boat to his death. Are you dumb? That's how Odysseus was looking like, man, I'm supposed to be the one that's tempted. You were supposed to keep the wax in your ears to get me where I need to go. So naturally, that's another lesson in business. You can't take everybody with you. There are going to be some people who actively understand a threat and still take the wax out of their ears to dive into danger. I was befuddled watching it. Watching every other man on the team say, I'm going to put the wax in my ear. I'm cooling. I have a job to do. But somebody who went against it, he ended up sacrificing himself and ending his own life. And guess what? Odysseus kept on going on with the rest of the team and did. So you did that for nothing. Insane. Okay, they get past the sirens and they're like, whew, oh my goodness, we could take the wax out our ears now. It's all good. Boom! It's a six-headed dragon that run up and start snatching people up on the boat. Just like in business, the second you think you could relax, the second you think you made a sale, the second you think you have comfort, bro, a six-headed monster about to come up on you. I'm going to tell you that much. Started snatching people up on that boat. Odysseus looking like, oh, no, I didn't know what's going to happen. Let me tell you, his team turned around and was like, did you know that was about to happen to us? He's like, listen, I knew it was going to happen, but I needed to make an executive decision that either some of us make it or none of us make it. And I couldn't tell y'all that because we wouldn't have come here at all. So again, the lesson in business, as the owner, as the boss, as the chief, sometimes you will need to make decisions that benefit the company overall, even though it may not benefit every person. Even though every staff member is maybe not meant to go on this specific journey, you have to continue to move the business forward. In Odysseus's case, that's what he did. He made a decision and he's like, listen, I kept y'all alive. It is what it is. Y'all should be thankful, okay? They keep going. Now, at this point, if I was on the staff of Odysseus, I would be like, bro, are you for us or against us? I'm not going to hold you because we just been getting, can we catch a break? Can we chill? They go past a little whirlpool. Odysseus is like, all right, no worries. We going to go here and we going to row this way. Just row to the side and we going to just like swerve around the whirlpool. Girl, They swerved around that whirlpool. Boat was in shambles. Boat was in shambles. I'm like, so you thought this boat that y'all built by hand, right, is about to survive after you done pissed the Cyclops off and his daddy, Poseidon. Poseidon's still on your head. After you done got through all the stuff you got through, you still have to use the same person you crossed in the beginning. Still got to use their resources to get to where you're going. So he's like, all right, let me just take a second. So he does his thing. Whole team goes off, and he's like, hey, y'all, if y'all follow these instructions, then we'll get to where we going. They didn't follow the instructions. Odysseus ended up being the only person that survived. He washes up on a beach, and this is where we get to Calypso. If this is not a metaphor for life, I don't know what is. Calypso is a woman who kept Odysseus on her island, fell in love with him. You know, he washes up. She's like, oh, let me go take care of this man. He didn't even ask to be taken care of. You know how many times we be taking care of people that didn't ask to be taken care of, right? Getting us off of our journey and everything we have going on. And then put yourself back in Odysseus' shoes. Somebody started to care for him when he could not. So he was 100% dependent. Over time, he started to get his strength. Every time he got close to leaving Shorty on the island, she's like, eat some lotus fruit. Lost his memory. Day after day after day. A lot of times in business, we try to build something day after day, and we get lost in it. Much like Odysseus, eating the lotus fruit, knowing maybe I shouldn't be doing this, but the memory is gone. So as he's washed up there, he's having visions, he's having dreams. That's when he thinks about the war and everything that he survived. He thinks about how he and his army went up to Troy to fight the Trojans. And I'm sure you're familiar with the Trojan horse. So they build this horse that they gifted to the goddess Athena. And they're like, hey, this is a gift. Take this up into your community. Display it. It's just our peace offering. Wave the white flag, girl. We not trying to be at war with y'all no more. We over it. Okay. So naturally, the Trojans think like, okay, we won. This is a win for us. Let me go in and do my thing. They get all their men out there, pull the Trojan horse in. Little did they know, Odysseus and his homies is inside the Trojan horse. They've been waiting for this moment. They all locked in by arms. They standing in there. What was up? Take us up in there, because we really about to wreak havoc when we get up in y'all crib, okay? Get them in there. Let the Trojans get drunk. Let them pass out. Let them think that they won. As soon as nightfall hit, as soon as the sun got up out of that sky, Odysseus and the homies got up out of that horse, okay? They opened up the bottom, took a little rope, got down, started thrashing everybody who was in the community. That's where Zendaya comes in, because she was somebody who lived with the Trojans. She was beheaded. They was just running around, snatching people, babies, women. They ain't care. They was just wrecking everything. Whole time, it was only a few people who had survived all the things that Odysseus had been through. Again, you start out with a lot of people. As you go, some people going to fall off. Some people going to be added. You got your right team. He gets his team inside the Trojan horse. He gets them inside of the place where he needed them to be. And he says, okay, boom, ready to attack. Now, Odysseus is outnumbered. And he's like, I know we're going to need some reinforcements. His team is at the front doors. He splits his team in two. Half of y'all about to run up in here and start snatching people and beheading. The other half of y'all about to run to the front door, get it open. So half the team run to the front door. They don't even understand. They like, all right, bet, following command. Team start rowing and get it open, because this ain't no like latch, back in like what we have. It's back in the day. So they got to really, really row it. They're rowing to get this whole thing open. Soon as they get it open, boom, Agamemnon busts out, get the busting on everybody in there. I was like, hey, yo, Agamemnon is that guy. He came to save the day. Agamemnon got a whole army back, a whole army behind him, whole army. They start coming in. Now they definitely about to take over. I said the Trojans didn't know left from right, girl. It was in the middle of the night. Can you imagine me waking up in the middle of the night and Agamemnon at your door? Please. Okay? So some people just was sacrificing themselves. Like, I ain't even about to square with Agamemnon, bro. I'm about to just jump out the building. I'd rather just go in and do it myself real quick before he get up on me. So Agamemnon get in there with the people. They ended up defeating everybody. Now the Trojan War has been won on behalf of the Greeks. And now Odysseus is ready to go home. So he's thinking about all of this. He's thinking about all these things in his mind where he's like, dang, we really won that war. These things really happened. And now he wakes up and he's still on that island with Calypso. Calypso at some point had to accept that Odysseus was going to return to his family. So when he said, all right, it's time for me to head back, it's time for me to go ahead and go to my family. Like, do I have a wife? Do I have a son? And Calypso was like, yeah, you do. And I knew that at some point you were going to go back. So I'm going to go ahead and, help you get back. Now, he had been with Calypso for 7 years, like a decade, for real. The crash boat that he washed up on shore with, that's all the supplies he had. He was trying to rebuild from the supplies he had. Next lesson in business. Sometimes in resources that we've had, sometimes in resources that we've invested in, sometimes the things that we've built become outdated and antiquated. And that's okay. Because you know what Odysseus did? He did a pivot. He laid that raft out flat, tied them together, laid on his back, and was like, great, take me where you taking me. So now Poseidon on his side after Poseidon has snatched up all the homies. He like, all right, I'm going to drift you home. Cool. What I learned from that is sometimes you have to relinquish control to the tides. Sometimes you have to just sit back and say, take me home. Take me to where I am meant to be without my control and without my manipulation. Once Odysseus learned that, he got back to Ithaca. So he gets back up to Ithaca and he sees Athena again, who's Zendaya. And Zendaya wakes him up and is like, you don't know what your house look like? Duh. Now, mind you, my man's been gone for years. Everything is different when he get back. So Odysseus heard the story of Agamemnon. When Agamemnon won the war, Agamemnon returned to his home. When he went back to his home, everybody threw a parade. It's like that one person that get rich and famous out the hood, right? And then they try to come back and they get murked. That's exactly what happened to Agamemnon, okay? Came back to his hood. Everybody phony, faking. Oh, my goodness, we so happy to see you, my boy. What's up? Dapping him up. He walking out with the shawl on. Whole time, wife, pop, straight murdered him. On set. I said, bro, he couldn't even get in there a good 2 weeks before the wife was like, I'm about to take you out. She been plotting the whole time. This is what I'm trying to say. He tried to go back to his hood. The hood wasn't having it. The hood got a new king now, okay? So naturally, Agamemnon's brother, just like real life, found that out. Went and found a wife. Went and found a wife with a new man. Pop, murk both of them. I'm like, bro, everybody's getting dropped left and right. Everybody getting dropped. All right, so Agamemnon, he gone. Then the wife is gone. Then the wife, new husband is gone. The whole city in disarray. But you know what Odysseus learned from that? He can't pull up to his hood on some bravado. That's what he learned. He said, listen, I seen y'all take Agamemnon out. I ain't trying to go outside like that. So I'm going to go as a beggar. So he puts on these different garments that are all like natty, and he's a beggar. He goes up with his little can like, oh, please let me in here. Back then, Zeus had a rule that you always help the beggars. You always help the people who had drifted away. And Odysseus posed as one of those people. They let him in, and that's how he was able to get close up to his queen and his son again. So all these guys beating down the door to talk to the queen. Beating down the door. They're like, hey, let me marry the queen. What's going on? Your husband not back. It's time to move on. So she's like, all right, I will do a test to see who's worthy of my hand in marriage. She sets up these axes in a row, like 8 of them. And there's a bow and an arrow that only Odysseus knows how to string. So all the guys step up and they're like, I know how to string this. They pull it back. They can't do it. Nobody can do it. At some point, they're like, listen, sis, we already know we can't do it. Like, we know we not Odysseus. We know we can't do it. So just choose the best of us. Then the beggar in the back said, give me a try. They start laughing. Oh, my goodness, a beggar. Like, he ain't got no strength. What he trying to do? Whole time, that was Odysseus, girl. Odysseus straight pulled up to the front, got that bow and arrow, leaned it back, straight through. She turned around like, I know that ain't who I think it is. I know that's not my man over there with a bow and arrow. She knew. She knew that this was her man because he's the only person that could hit the target. Much like when we're running a business, we are the ones who can hit the target. That's how it goes. He gets up there, he gets his woman back, he gets his son, and he's like, oh, this is amazing. And the last thing that I learned from this movie was that sometimes you build something and it's okay to hand it over to the next generation. Odysseus got to where he needed. He got his queen. He handed over his kingdom to his son and said, it's your turn. You've been preparing for this while I was out there fighting. I encourage you today to think about the person who is going to take your place. I know it sounds scary. I built this by hand. This is my thing, right? We always need someone who is going to be able to keep the legacy alive. And that is one of the biggest business lessons that I learned from the Odyssey. Thank you all so much for tuning into another episode of Behind the Business. If y'all haven't seen the Odyssey, go check it out because it's really amazing. Okay? Block out your time, go check it out, and then come back here and leave a comment on what stood out to you because as you can see, a lot stood out to me. I want to know what stood out to you. Again, I'm Tiffany Hope, and this is Behind the Business.